Unit 5, Section 12.2 Worked Examples. A professor had students keep track of their social interactions for a week. The number of social interactions over the week is shown in the following group frequency distribution. Construct a histogram and frequency polygon for the data. And the data is shown in the table, and the first part of the question asks us to select which of the four histograms represents the given data frequency distribution. So if we notice in the frequency distribution we were given, we start at 13 and then we go to 17 and then 13, 11, 16 and so forth. We can eliminate the top left graph. The frequency shown for category J right here is too high. We notice J and I and J should only have frequencies of 1. And likewise for this graph also, frequency for J is too high. So we're left with the two graphs on the bottom, and it's a little bit hard to tell, but if we notice on the two graphs on the bottom one, comparing the two ones, we notice the one on the left starts at 17 rather than starting at 13, which is what we need, notice right here. And so the correct histogram must be the histogram right here. It starts at 13, so if you notice here, 13, 17, 13, 11, and back up to 16. So the correct histogram is shown right there. Now we want to take the histogram and construct the frequency polygon. So we can eliminate the third choice because we notice in the third choice right here, we don't see it dropping off to the small frequencies that we see here for I and J. We can also eliminate, we can eliminate this one. We can also eliminate this one for the same reason. And so we're left with the far left and the far right ones. And they both have, we know I and J have frequency of 1. It's a little bit hard to see which of those two graphs might be the right one. So I went ahead and I increased the size. And so if you notice down here, on this one right here, the frequencies on I and J are actually at 3. So the correct graph must be the one on the far left, which is right here. And it's really helpful if you increase the size of those so you can really tell what frequencies are being shown on the frequency polygon. Use the histogram below to answer the following questions. How many people were surveyed is the first question. So here's the histogram. So how do we do this? So what we do is we look at the frequencies that each bar represents. And I went ahead and I put those down here for you. So 1, if you look here, the frequency for 0 drinks was 1. And for 1 drink, it was 6, and then 10, and so forth. And you're just going to take your calculator, and you're going to go ahead and add up those frequencies. You're actually going to need those in a minute at the end of the problem also. So I'm going to go 1 plus 6 plus 10 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2, and I get 28. So 28 people were surveyed. And the next question asks me, how many people purchased 4 soft drinks? And I can read that right off of the graph, and I notice that that's 3. 3 people purchased 4. What's the modal class? Remember the definition of modal class is the class with the highest frequency, and that's going to be 2 drinks. How many soft drinks were purchased? Okay, in order to calculate that, we need to take the frequency for each class times the number that it represents. And we had the frequencies for each class right up here. Now what we need to do is put in how much each class represents, and I did that right down here. So frequency of 1 was no drinks, frequency of 6 was 1 drink, frequency of 10 was 2 drinks, frequency of 4 was 3 drinks, and so forth. And I went ahead and I found those products. And then what I'm going to do in my calculator is go ahead and add together all those numbers that are shown there. So I've got a 0 plus a 6 plus a 20 plus a 12 plus another 12 plus a 10 plus a 12. And so I see, oh, I'm sorry, I put that wrong. It's supposed to be 72. Let's do it again. So it was 0 plus 6 plus 20 plus 12 plus 12 plus 10 plus 12. There we go. 72. It should be 72. So 72 altogether. Okay, the next part of the question asks me to construct the frequency distribution from the histogram. And if you notice back here, we actually did the frequencies right here. So we've already got those. So you can just go ahead and add those in on the table that comes up at the last part of the problem here. And if you look, you can read them off of the histogram again. So we see the first one was a 1, and then we had a 6, and then we had, let me bring it down a little bit, a 10. Whoops, no, it moved in the wrong spot. Let me go back here. Get my eraser. All right, let's try this again. So this was a 6 and a 10, and then we were a 4, a 3, and a 2, and a 2. So that's pretty straightforward. Okay, and then this is working with a circle graph or a pie chart. And what they want us to do is, given the pie chart, which shows the percentages to 4 categories that are related to the cost to attend a public university, is determine the cost in dollars for each of the categories. And they've given me the total amount to attend the college right here, $14,910. And so for each category, I'm going to take the percent. So for instance, for tuition and fees, 37.2% of the total cost. And I changed that to a decimal by dividing by 100. And in my calculator, I did the calculations for you, but let's go ahead and put it into the calculator. So if you want to start with the percent, put in the 37.2 and divide it by 100 to get to the decimal. And then you're going to multiply that by the total cost, which was $14,910. And so for tuition and fees, you come up with $55,046.52, which I've written down here. And then the same thing you're going to do for the room portion, the board portion, and the computer costs. And then I made a note down here, when you're working this problem on your own, you're going to have different numbers, but when you're finished, if you go ahead in your calculator and you add up those 4 numbers, you have to come back to the same total that you started with.